this played out live. Like this actually happened. And for people that saw it happening live, like we broke our little corner of the internet. Like it created a massive buzz and people were like, what is going on? Are you okay? What's happening? And
welcome to the Honor It podcast. I'm Honor Garrett, your host, and we're here to honor all that is good in the world. We delve into inspiring stories that matter to you with top experts, entrepreneurs, creators, innovators, and pro athletes who are making a difference, impacting lives, and creating positive change. My mission is to inspire women to thrive and build a life and legacy they love, no matter what their age. We live life in the game, not on the sidelines. Today, we have the honor of hearing from Marley Jaxx, an award-winning filmmaker, business acceleration coach, and CEO of Jaxx Productions. She is an expert in video creation, content strategy, and YouTube growth. Jaxx is also the founder of the YouTube Lead Machine, which helps entrepreneurs use YouTube to generate leads and earn money. Welcome, Marley. I'm so excited to meet you today. How are you?
oh, so good. Thanks for having me here.
Well, let's dive in. So I found you originally on YouTube and Instagram, and I was instantly drawn to your energy and mission to highlight people's uniqueness, especially in a world of what can feel like copycats. Can you speak to that and how you really have the courage to adopt this approach when we're all a little bit nervous about putting ourselves out there?
Yeah, it's funny that you called out the copycats. And I don't think that people are doing it on purpose, that I'm just gonna go copy someone else, but we want to learn from other people's growth. We want to, success leaves clues. And so when we see other people that are being successful, we try to model. But then sometimes there's just that we can toe that line where it becomes, we lose the authenticity in ourselves. And I always say this quote of, if you want to have what the 1% have, you have to do what 99% are not willing to do. And so I think about that a lot in how I live my life, in trying to be spontaneous and playful. And I think about that in the content I'm creating and how I'm serving my customers. Like, how do I do what is unexpected, unpredictable, non-obvious, what not many people are doing? And if I see a trend, I usually jump off of it because I don't want to just be another, in the crowd. I want to be doing things that are unique, and I would love to be the trendsetter, not the trend follower.
Right, exactly. Well, how did you even get into filmmaking? What is your background? And I remember, I know you really hit it big when you had that one post or YouTube video with the tape across your mouth. And so, do you want to talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah, we fabricated a scandal. It was amazing. And it's funny you asked, like, how did you get into it? I was a dental hygienist.
Really?
But yeah, when I was growing up, though, my dream as a kid was I want to make movies in Hollywood. And then, there's people around you that mean well, but are like, oh no, that's really hard, and not many people make it. So, how about just, there's this box here that's really comfortable. Let's just get in the box. That's where it's safe. So I had to unlearn and decondition a lot of that for years. And I still, have things that come up, which is why I think I've created this concept of disruptive content, because the disruption starts with my own internal dialogue of like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to go believe in things that are unheard of. I'm going to go after things that are rare. And yeah, I try to bump up against a new ceiling for myself all the time and then change it to become a floor. So I was a dental hygienist. I also worked in radio and television for fun. And then when I was a hygienist, I started doing social media for the office on the side. That turned into getting some referrals from nearby businesses, which then turned into a business overnight. I started making YouTube videos for some of my clients. I started making videos for myself. And then it turned into like some of these videos started to just take off. But then from there, I was like, I'm kind of bored of just, it was almost like I was making movies for entrepreneurs on
Right.
YouTube. But I was like, I don't want to talk about how-to stuff, like 5 steps to grow your business, blah, 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 blah. And so I got bored of it, growing up and wanting to make movies and create these incredible stories that are moving and provoking a strong emotional response. I wanted that. And so earlier this year, after I burned out, I was making 5 videos a week, just trying to I wanted to get my channel to 100,000 subscribers, which for anyone listening, that's an arbitrary number. Like it's just for me working in content. Sometimes people would be like, well, you don't have that many followers. And I'd be like, oh, fine, let me show you. I can do it. But I got burnt out thinking more volume will create more followers. To a degree, yes, you need the volume to create that work ethic and to find your voice. And creative geniuses are work ethic geniuses. It's that they put out more volume. And so I do think that that volume, the quantity created quality. But I was just like, I'm going to take a break from content for a little bit. And that's where I started to, even I just came across this stat of only 1% of YouTube channels get to 100,000 subscribers. And I was like, okay, so then what makes my content worthy of being in that 1%? It can't be doing what 99% are doing, which is talking head, just straight to camera, not really a format to their videos, nothing that's sensational. Not that you have to be like Mr. Beast sensational, but just it has to have its own kind of uniqueness. Anything that's going to grab attention has to be disruptive in a way. And so my team and I, we came up with this idea of what if we create a documentary? I'd always said for years, I want to make my YouTube channel like it's like Hollywood, that people would compare it to Hollywood and Netflix. And so we came up with this idea of let's make a documentary. And we're pushing this message of disruption. And the thing that we hear the most when we talk about disruption is well, but what if people don't like it? What if I get canceled? Look at the environment we're in today, that you are one statement away from being vilified or venerated. So we created a documentary on cancel culture, and the whole premise was an experiment to get myself canceled. And it worked. And I don't want to give it away because I hope people will go see it, but you can go to my YouTube channel and see it. There is a big plot twist at the end. And just for people to know when they're watching it, this played out live, this actually happened. And for people that saw it happening live, we broke our little corner of the internet. It created a massive buzz, and people were like, what is going on? Are you okay? What's happening? And there were some villains involved in the story that ended up being the heroes in the end. So yeah, I mean that one piece of content was almost like the power of 1,000 videos in one. And it was compared to Hollywood and Netflix, which gotta pat myself on the back. I made that vision come true, and now have that as a standard for everything I want to create now. It's won awards at film festivals, and that one piece of content, instead of 5 a week throughout the entire year of 2022, definitely got more opportunities, revenue, sales, stage speaking engagements from just that one video.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody listening, please go and make sure that you watch that and follow Marley. I will say that I lack in the YouTube arena because I started using YouTube just so I could put my podcast on video and
Yep.
just put it up there for people who like to see the person or see the guest that I'm talking to. But as far as creativity, I really was using it as a housing for my videos and not really trying to grow. And now I realize that YouTube honestly is probably the best platform, because when people go to YouTube, they're usually looking for something specific to get an answer. And so I'm thinking it's not just scrolling, even though we do tend to scroll a little bit now that there's shorts and all that, we do scroll a little bit. But how do you help someone like me go from I'm just housing my videos to, okay, Honor, how can we make you unique and get you out there in the world?
One of the first things I do with clients is pull out what they're passionate about, what they could go on a rant about, what they could just get fire in their eyes about. And that rant doesn't have to be anger. It could be something that they are just like, oh, I got to tell you about this. I got to tell you about this. Because often someone will come to me and they'll be like, here's what I do for a living, and here's my message, and here's the people that I help. But it's missing that X factor, or it's missing that emotion, because when people feel something, that's when they take action. So that's why, there's I say this thing of there's no marketing in the middle. We want people to have a strong emotional reaction, which might mean love or hate. And which also means that when you're creating disruptive content, there are people that are not going to agree with you. And we have to be okay with that because we're not going to water down our message for someone that's never going to be our customer or follow this movement. It doesn't matter. But the people that do, they will move mountains for you when they feel like you're leading a movement and you are resonating with them in a way that you're speaking in words that they couldn't come up with themselves. People share content because it reveals a part of their identity in a way that maybe they couldn't have communicated themselves. And so, yes, with our clients, we're trying to pull out what's that thing that they get passionate about, and how do we also script it, position it in a way that no one else is doing. And one thing I also want to mention here is because like sometimes people will get apprehensive of, oh, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want to offend anybody. And I always have to combat that with like, we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings in being disruptive, but we are trying to take a stand for something very powerfully. And if you look all throughout history, the people that were memorable, that made a difference, were the people that were willing to stand up for something they believed in. And some examples that, and I mean, anyone can know Jesus, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, they weren't being mean, they weren't being offensive, but there were certainly people that didn't agree with them because they had conflicting values. But as a result, they're still talked about hundreds, thousands of years later.
Oh, that's powerful. And I think sometimes a lot of us, my faith is important to me. And so, I'm a Christian, but also at the same time, I wholeheartedly believe in energy. And I don't think they conflict at all. But there's some people who think, ooh, that's woo woo, that's not God. And I'm like, whoa, those things I think there's more power in what we don't see as part of faith than what we can't see, than what we do see. And so that is something I'm very passionate about. But what if somebody has tons of passions? I'm passionate about health. I'm passionate about older women realizing that they still have purpose, right? They have a job to do if they're breathing. And then also, as a ministry, I help young college kids figure out what they want to do in life. So I have so many passions. And then that niche thing says, you need to niche down, you need to niche down. And so a lot of us just freeze up and not knowing how to express ourselves.
Sure. Well, and everything that you said, though, falls under the same umbrella, like the way that I would see it. If you all of a sudden you're like, I'm also passionate about car mechanics, I'd be like, whoa, okay. Like we've kind of gone off script here. But all of those things, like they are within 6 degrees of separation or less. Like those can hold hands. And so it would just be finding, because I mean, even the people that you follow, observe the people that you follow and why you follow them and what kind of content they speak about. So yes, I can be following a mother who will share funny stories about her kids while she's also talking about this product that she's selling on Amazon, while she's also talking about her faith, while she's also talking about like, that's still under the umbrella of this is who this person is, their identity. But the brand fame formula is what we call it, is what are they selling? What's the message, the mission, the map, the model, a bunch of M words there. How do they sell this message to an audience who is also going to feel that passion and as a result buy into the movement, buy into the products, and be the kind of people that will also push that message for them?
Okay, that makes sense. So can you explain really the concept behind what you've created, the YouTube lead machine, and how does it revolutionize the way entrepreneurs use YouTube?
Well, actually, just recently, YouTube Lead Machine has become a new program, which everything in YouTube Lead Machine is still in it, but it's been upgraded into a program called Disruptor. Because on YouTube, yes, you can be creating content, but we wanted to really differentiate ourselves that we can create content that is disruptive and it's also platform agnostic, these strategies. We have 3 main systems. That is the brand fame formula, like what are you known for? How do you say what you're saying? How do people also recognize you and become part of that movement? What's the culture around that? Then the content machine and the cash flow systems, because everything that we're doing, we're reverse engineering from how do we make that impact and how do we get that value exchange? Because we know that people who pay pay more attention. And I would rather have clients that they have a movement of people, that they have people that are in their, monthly continuity or in their high ticket programs, that they can focus on giving to those clients and just creating the absolute best program, the best content, instead of focusing on trying to find new clients all the time. Like I would so rather have 100 people in a program than me have to find 100 new people every month.
Right. And have that program and really nurture and take them to the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And really,
Exactly.
that's how you build those relationships of know, like, and trust. So that's a great way to do it. So I heard actually just this morning, I was listening to, I think it is Erwin McManus. He was in an interview saying that storytelling is almost as important as living a story.
Hmm.
How do you feel about storytelling? And is that basically what you want to do in creating disruptive content?
Cool. Storytelling is almost as important as living a story. I mean, what comes to mind for me first is like the brain can't recognize when you are actually living it or if you're just reliving it in your memory. So a good story has the power to change your life, change your story, change your life. Like if you can fixate on a story that is for positive growth and momentum, and if you can share that with your audience, like I'd say that you're doing some good in the world. I'm thinking about this morning. I just did a workshop with a handful of people, and I was telling stories from my grandfather, like some stories that he's passed down to me that I just happened to come up in conversation. That I'm sharing this as a moral of the story that everyone should like. Look, like generations have passed down this story, and if we didn't have stories, how would we live our life? Like kind of what I mentioned before, success leaves clues. Imagine if we had to start over civilization every single generation. Like we would not be where we are today. So I think that storytelling being a part of living a story, and that we are constantly like, I don't know if everyone else is like this, but I feel like I live my life from two lenses, that I'm living it in the present, and then it's like there's also this little contraption in my little compartment in my brain that's like recording for how I'm going to tell this story. Do you live like that? Like do you think about that?
I do, when things are happening to me, I
Yeah.
do think about what is the lesson in this,
Hmm.
which would basically end up being something I could help teach someone, or but I don't sit there and think, okay, how am I going to tell this story? But that's a really great approach.
Yeah.
And at least you're thinking in the future. I think so many of us are just are stuck in the past, how things used to be, that they're too afraid or have already made up their mind of what the result will be, and so they don't
Hmm.
try anything new. So that's a
Yeah.
great way.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy, he has this book, 10X is easier than 2X, which is like everyone should read this multiple times a year. It's a must read over and over. He talks about how it's not, or it shouldn't be, your past that shapes your present. When we're living too much in the past, kind of like what you were saying, if we focus on things that happened in the past, feeling like, well, that's what made, yes, there's truth to that of like the things that you experience, but more so we should be focusing from our future self shaping our present, pulling us into the future of what we see our lives becoming, so that in our present, we are acting as if we are making decisions that are in support of our future self. Because, yeah, think about like if you're living in trauma of the past instead of gratitude of the past, and using that as a fuel for pulling your future into the present.
Well, and what I teach people all the time, you're creating every present moment, you are creating, right? And
Mhm.
co-creating. So if you're thinking about your past, then you're going to keep repeating the same patterns. But if you are creating, what do you want to create? And just like you said, you have to show up today like your future self. And then there's no way you can't get there. I look at the way I grew up. You you had good manners, you got in a good college, you got a good job, you got married, you had children. And so actually trying to break out of that and start something new at 57 years old, it was really scary. And it's still scary. But at the same time, I know that I'm not going to just sit at home and go, my kids are gone and life is done and I don't have anything else to do.
Mhm.
So, how how would you speak to somebody who feels stuck and do I really have a story to tell?
Every time, because yeah, it's funny, I've had people that will say, well, I don't have a story. And I'm like, tell me where you were born. Like, let's start from the beginning. You, of course, you have a story. Even if you were just dropped on Earth by aliens, that's a story. Like, you have a story.
Yeah.
It often just takes. It's like this muscle that you got to grow. That once you start to observe the stories that come up in your everyday life, that I mean that creates this story inventory that you can be building from. Like, it can be something you overheard at the gas station. It can be something that you thought about while this music played and a lyric, triggered a memory for you. You can go back chronologically through your life and think of these pivotal moments, or a teacher that inspired you, or a friend that hurt you, or when you graduated and what you wanted to be when you grow up. Like, I do this exercise with our clients where it's like we just create a story inventory, create like a Google Doc or a note section on your phone, and just brain dump. And honestly, it never ends. And when you get into that, you like strengthen that creative muscle memory to build that story inventory. You just are always adding to it because a memory will pop up and you'll be like, oh, that's a good one. I got to share that. Or you overhear something at the gas station. You're like, that has a moral of the story that ties into my message. Like, and it also helps to observe how other people are telling their stories, and from the most random sources too. Like, don't just follow the your competitors or the teachers that you're always used to. Like, look at other sources, even commercials, radio ads, documentaries, movies, TV shows, kids TV shows, church services. Like, one of the things that I've been watching a lot is like these church services on YouTube, and hearing these stories that these pastors are telling. They're so good at sharing stories in a way that is so unique. I was talking to a client this morning that he's like, how do I share my values in a way that is unpredictable or non-obvious, or isn't just like, yeah, I'll brush it off. So I was like, well, give me an example. And he's like, how do I share consistency is key? And like, consistency is what creates success. He's like, everyone knows that. They'll roll their eyes and be like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, okay, here's an example. I heard this at church this weekend. It's bamboo season. And you're like, what does that mean? Like, hopefully you say it in a way that you're just like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Well, bamboo, do you know how bamboo grows? Bamboo grows underground first
Oh.
for like 3 years. So for 3 years, if you plant this bamboo seed, I don't know if it's a bamboo seed, I don't know how it works, but you like, if you plant bamboo and it doesn't come up, what do you think? Self-doubt comes up. You're like, this seed is a dud. Maybe the soil is junk. Maybe I am not good enough at watering it or getting enough sunlight. And like, oh man, just didn't work. Bamboo grows underground for 3 years. And then when it breaks ground, it grows 2 inches an hour. It can grow 4 inches a day. So you're in bamboo season. The seeds that you planted 3 years ago and kept watering consistently are finally breaking ground. And that's where you find your skyrocket, your momentum. So that's why consistency is key. See the before
Oh,
and after?
I love that story. And yes, bamboo, once you see it, you cannot stop it.
Right,
It's
right. Get
that.
out of the way.
So someone gave me a really great advice about being the best communicator you can be is to always have a story ready. And we asked, well, how do you always have a story ready? And he said, every time you remember a story, write it down. And the problem is that so many people have stories and have so many things that have happened to them, but when you put them on the spot, they're like, I don't have any. But if you consistently write them down, they will be at the top of your mind and they'll come to you like that. And that's how you communicate because people resonate. They want to see themselves in your story. And so it can be really powerful. In your view, what are the most important metrics or indicators of success for content creators on YouTube and why? What should they be looking for? What should they be trying to do?
Mhm. Metrics for success. we want to see engagement. And I shared the story of like, I wanted to reach 100,000 subscribers and I made it. Yay, awesome. And of course, I want to keep growing. But those are also vanity metrics. I can't deposit likes and subscribers in my bank account. And I don't know for sure, did someone just click it and go away? Am I actually making an impact in that person's life? So I want to see consistency in my view count, that when I put out a video, people are consistently coming back to watch it. There's a metric called AVPV, average view per viewer,
Mhm.
meaning how many times are people watching a video of yours? Are they coming once and then never coming back again? Wah, wah. Like, I want people to stay. I want to see that people are watching every one of my videos. Okay, maybe that's not realistic, but YouTube or any platform is going to continue to put your content out there when it sees that you have returning viewers, similar to how we should have revenue in our business. Is we want returning customers, that they keep coming back, they never leave, they happily pay us, they happily invest their time with us. Like, I want people that they're like, I love to pay Marley. I love when I see that credit card payment go through every month, because I know that I am getting more than I invested. Like, the value exchange is disproportionate. Like, that's what I want people to feel. So same thing with my content. I want to give away content so generously that people are like, man, I should pay you for that because that was so good. So AVPV is an important metric. Your click-through rate, like when people see the video compared to the sea of others, are they going to click yours or are they going to click others? Of course, there's so many distractions. Your watch time, are they watching 10 seconds? Are they watching 10 minutes? Is that 100% or is that 5%? Because also the platforms aren't going to push your content out unless they see that people are actually watching it. Like, could you imagine if you logged into Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and like nothing there looked good? You're like, you would never go on the platform because it's not triggering the dopamine, the serotonin. Like, these platforms, they know how to get us addicted. They know exactly what triggers and what buttons to push. So these algorithms are just like, they know us better than our mamas. It's crazy how much they will, like, I don't know how I will say things and like, there's rumors of like, are they listening to us? And then I'll suddenly be getting ads for the thing that I said, or see a video that I was just talking about that thing. It's crazy what they can do. And so also, if we know what our audience is, because there's data, there's analytics to see what our audiences are interested in, and if we can create content based on those trends, however, in a disruptive way, the platforms are going to favor our content to put it in front of more people.
Wow. And I will definitely say that I am in bamboo season. I'm underground. But I always tell people, especially when I ask people to be on my podcast, I'm like, well, your content will live forever. So when I do make it big, you're going to be there.
Yes.
It is a humbling thing, but I believe, and what I struggle with most, and probably what you help other people with, is being consistent.
Mhm.
We get all excited and we do things for a little while and then we drop off. And I think that's just the humanness in us.
Yeah.
And we want to always see growth. And when we don't, we seem to think it doesn't work or something. What is your opinion of the future of online content creation and marketing? Or is it something that's really, you hope, is unpredictable because you're trying to be
Mm.
disruptive, right?
I think it's always unpredictable, but it's crazy how much AI is taking over. Like, I heard about this AI influencer recently, Aitana, that she has like almost 300,000 followers on Instagram. She makes $10,000 a month from sponsorship deals. She is completely AI.
She's
Like, she
making
is stunning. People are complaining about she's, affecting beauty standards because she's an AI. But crazy that this AI thing can make
wow.
10,000 a month and have all these followers. But it's interesting. It's a spectacle. But with that, I think because AI is so popular, and when things become popular and everyone jumps on that bandwagon, what happens? It stops working as well as it did. Like, when people can tell that it's just a trend and we're used to it and we're over it, it'll drown out with the noise, and then the next trend will pop up to the top. When I see, you can tell when a video was scripted by AI. You can tell when a caption was scripted because it has way too many emojis and metaphors and questions like the kicker. You want to hear the kicker? It's this. Like it's cringy to me when I read captions that I'm like, you didn't even edit the chat GPT. Come on. I even had someone apply for a job with us that we all, in the application form, it's
Right.
like, tell us why you'd be a good fit. And in the answer, it was like, sure, I will help you answer the question for why you would be a good
Oh,
fit. They forgot to delete the ChatGPT prompt, which unfortunately was for a copywriter role, which was even more ironic. So anyway, I think that people are going to crave a more human connection
mhm,
that I don't know, can AI how human can AI become? I think AI is an incredible tool. I'm not saying not to use it. It's like when we were kids and they'd say you have your calculator, but you're never going to have a calculator on you all the time when you're adult. Ha ha, joke's on you. Uh,
right.
AI is an incredible tool, but it's a calculator. Like never let that be the final say in your decision process. Continue to make it human. But also, even people doing these talking head videos, like face to camera videos, people are becoming bored of that.
Right.
So they're going to like we need to do new things. A new trend that I've seen is people doing reels, videos where they're talking off camera and you're seeing them from the side. So the audience feels like they're in on this, they're a fly on the wall for this exclusive conversation. And so that's a trend.
I've
Well,
seen that. Yeah.
then when is that going to go? And then what will be next? Will it be like on the street in the middle of traffic? Like, that's the next sensational thing that's going to get people's attention? Maybe trends are going to pop and people are going to follow them. And then people are going to have to leave those trends if they want to continue to be at the front of the trend instead of a follower. So it's always changing, but I think it's still always going to come down to what can humans resonate with on an identity level and feel like they're seen in that content from whoever's creating it.
And that's really where you can help people because you're always trying to create something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And the people in my audience usually are sometimes a little bit older, and we're really trying or not say struggling with, but wrestling with what kind of legacy am I going to leave? What are people honestly? And I know a lot of people say, write your own obituary
Oh, yep, I've heard that.
and what you want people to say about you, and then go live it
Mm-hmm.
before it's too late. And so, what kind of legacy are you wanting to leave?
That's a good question. Um, I mean, I always have had this like internal narrative pointing towards making movies, even though a lot of my life was like, no, you're not allowed to. And then this breakthrough of, wait a minute, I'm an adult. I can make my own choices. I can totally do that. And then I started publicly saying, like, I've said publicly so many times, my dream is to make a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. If anyone knows him and would like to introduce me, that'd be great. Like, and honestly, saying that puts it out there. Like, how am I going to meet? It's an impossible goal to me, but you only reach impossible goals through some kind of impossible circumstance, an introduction, whatever. So going back to the question, what do I want to be remembered for? What's the legacy? Like I want to create art that moves people, that shifts generations, that, when for me, like I think a big theme that I've overcome in my life is like believing in impossible goals and having this, now once I overcame that mountain was having this irrational belief in myself that I can do anything. I believe that I am competent. I believe that I can create anything. I believe that in terms of like any goal I set or any client that I work with, that I make dreams come true and everything I touch turns to gold. And wouldn't that be amazing if everyone else believed that about themselves too? And if I could be an example of that, if my work, my content, my movies made people feel that too through whatever hero's journey, whatever story plays out, and to realize that like you don't get to that or you don't become a person worth following or someone influential worth listening to without going through those struggles. And so if I can create these stories in a way that people can relate to the struggle and then see the potential breakthrough on the other side of it through this art.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I've never said that before. Thank you for asking me that.
Well, and it's important to voice everything, even the Leonardo DiCaprio, because you never know. I
Hmm.
mean, my husband's in football. We've moved 14 times. And
Yeah.
so we know people all over the place. I don't know him. But if my husband ever gets a football job out in Hollywood, in California, I might meet him and I'll remember
Right.
that you said that. So it is important to put
Yeah.
those things out there.
Well,
And
and my fear that I believed growing up that I feel like I had to decondition was that if I state my dream and say what I want more than anything in the world, someone's going to tell me no, or they're going to laugh at me, or they're going to like brush it off like, silly girl, you can't do that. And as I grew up and started to tiptoe around, like, well, could I? Like, I first had to believe in it myself. And now that I do, and that I share these things, I never hear a naysayer to that. I hear, let me think about who I know. Let me see how I can help you. And same thing with me. If someone tells me
yeah,
a crazy impossible goal, I'm like, heck yeah, I love it. Okay, let me think about how I can help you. And if
right.
you're met with someone that is a naysayer, it's like, thanks for showing me who you are. Bye. Like I just don't pay attention. That opinion does not matter to me.
Well, and it's interesting that any of the naysayers in your life are usually people that never reach their own goals and dreams. So
Yeah.
why would you listen to someone who's never been where you're going?
Yeah.
They
The
don't.
quote, like, only pay attention to, or only take advice from someone you're willing to trade places with.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't want to learn about how to have a happy relationship from someone that's been divorced 10 times, right? Like,
Right.
I want to follow people that are a good example to me and that I resonate with and see pieces of them as what I hope my after picture will look like.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. So I love to end each podcast with the same question for every guest. This podcast is called the Honor It Podcast. So, what or who are you choosing to honor today?
Mm, anything? Anyone?
It could just be what you're grateful for, anything.
Mm. Well, I'm gonna pick my kids because man, I've gone through I feel like I'm reparenting myself through them. And I recognize so much in them that encourages me to continue to play. That's another thing that I feel like I had to unlearn growing up was this belief of like you have to work hard before you earn your play. You're not allowed to go outside and play until you've finished all your chores. And of course, there's a balance of like self-discipline and personal responsibility that we teach our children, of course. But I think there's also some extremes of you're not allowed to, you're not worthy, you don't deserve the play until you've reached this
Mhm.
height, you know? And so with my kids, I like will recognize that come up in me sometimes. And then I'll be like, oh, no, we're changing that story.
Mm.
I'm changing that story for them. I'm not like, whatever you don't heal in yourself, you pass on. And it also is a reminder for me because I'll do that sometimes where I'm like, well, I'll do the thing that I really want to do after I, eat the frog first, do the hard thing first. And then it's like, would it actually make a difference if I just played first and I did it later? Would I actually do the work part better if I was more like, instead of have I worked hard to earn enough my play, have I rested and played enough to give my best to my work? And so
Mhm.
my kids are such a good reminder of that, that sometimes, if they're making a mess in the kitchen because they're playing, I'm like, 20 years from now, I'm gonna wish I could relive this all over again and play with them. Like I'll make the mess with them.
That's so great. And I look at you because you're a lot younger than I am, thinking, I'm so excited for you that you're doing it younger.
Mm.
My children, I have four, 22, 25, 27, and 28. And I sometimes wonder, I hope I haven't messed them up because I didn't do all this inner work until I was till I was older. But I do think they love their mom. And that's why I want to be that example that
Yeah.
you don't have to work for someone else. You can be creative. You are capable to do whatever you want. You don't have to go get a boring job. You can use your mind and your creativity and your interest and your love for things to create something special for yourself. So that obviously and hopefully serves the world at the same time.
Mhm. Amen. And I think about that a lot too, like, what trauma am I instilling in my children that I am unaware of, Like, am I you gotta eat your vegetables. Like, is that a thing that they feel this stress about their vegetables or something? But it's like, we need those, even my parents lovingly being like, "Hey, a safer job, be a dental hygienist instead of a Hollywood actress." That pushback, that rebellion in me created the ambition that I have today. And would I have that belief if I didn't go through that? Would I also have maybe given up if it didn't work out sooner because I didn't have the adversity to push back on? If it was just like, yeah, go to Hollywood, try it out. But that also took me some time to recognize in myself too, of even the things that felt stressful or hard. How did that, like, would I trade that? Like, okay, let's pretend that I didn't have bullies in school and instead it was just perfect friendships and all that. Would I take the bullies or would I take my ambition today?
Oh,
I'll go through the bully experience because I see how that shaped me, even though it was so hard at the time. Like, I was praying about this recently, that the struggle that I'm in right now, I had to look back at all the struggles I've had my whole life and be like, there's not a single one that I regret. There's not a single one that I can't see. What was that for? So obviously the one that I'm in right now, whatever that may be for anyone listening, there is a reason for it.
absolutely. I mean, you have to decide, is life happening for you or is it happening to you? And if you truly believe that everything, it's either a lesson or it's a blessing.
Mhm.
So there's good that can come out of either one. And I think about that all the time too with my kids, because you don't want your kids to hurt, but they will
Yeah.
not become the amazing people that you want them to be without going through some of that adversity.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you so much for being here on the Honor It podcast. You're delightful and I love what you're doing. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This was such a great conversation.
Well, and until next time, remember, we are not promised tomorrow, so be present today. It's a gift. And take time to honor it all.